Stephen Willis. After reading your book and seeing how clunky and inefficient the Sea Org bureaucracy is, the only way I can see anything getting done in a quick way is a direct order from David Miscavige, as proven by your encounter with him. So is the entire upper management of Scientology just full of people trying to get what they want or need via proximity to him? Not exactly. There's a lot of things that go on at local levels, at a continental level with the Sea Org, with the management units or with the service organizations that just run. You know, these are self-sufficient organizations that produce their own income, distribute that income, a percentage of it goes up the line to Miscavige, and they just sort of do their day-to-day operations, and they're left alone to do that. And the captains of each of these organizations, which is the equivalent of the CEO or the head of the organizations, the executive directors, run the day-to-day operations of their churches. They have an executive council that helps them make their decisions and helps them run the different divisions of the organization and service the public or manage the organizations or do, you know, the various things that they do. The Pacifica base, for example, PAC, the big blue buildings, have a whole hierarchy of organizations there. There's three major service organizations there, and then there's the management organization, and the head of that management organization is sort of the nominal coordinating head of the service organizations and everything that goes on the street. From Los Angeles organization, which is now a Sea Org, it's staffed only by Sea Org members, through the ASHO, the American St. Hill organization, over to the advanced organization of Los Angeles, the AOLA, which delivers the upper, the OT levels through OT5. So all of those organizations kind of mesh and coordinate with each other, and the CLO, which is where I worked for many of those years, the Continental Liaison Office, and this is all explained in my video called Scientology's Organizational Madness. If you're really curious about how this is all structured, that's the video to watch. But all of these organizations are sort of coordinated amongst one another, and they could run by themselves and produce their income and do their delivery and make decisions at a local level that affect just them at a local level. When it comes to the big international decisions or the game-changing decisions, or with the train going this way and now it's going to go this way sort of decisions, that's Miscavige's thing. And so if there was going to be a new international dissemination campaign, if there was going to be the opening of the Scientology media productions, that entire thing was certainly coordinated through David Miscavige. The books, when the basic books got all revised, he was all over that project. His name and hands are everywhere connected with those books and all those lectures that were released. So those big kind of projects are where Miscavige runs things. And you're not going to, every one of the, so the people at International Management or at Golden Era Productions who do the design work, do the film work, do the video, the music, all that kind of stuff, that's the stuff that Miscavige has got his hands on. Sometimes, I wouldn't say rarely, it's more often than rarely, but it's not every day, or it's not even every month. Maybe twice a year, Miscavige might make his presence known directly at Big Blue. There was a period of time in the late 90s when the Lisa McPherson thing was going down and a number of other things were happening, that Miscavige was directly at Flag in Clearwater, and he was definitely running that show. And they were doing, him and RTC were doing all kinds of work and reorganizing Flag's internal mechanisms and structures and lines and how people, did their work and that sort of thing. There was a lot of work being done at that time, and he was overseeing all of that. But that only slowly creeped over to where we were in the Western United States. And creeped out to the other organizations in the world. So Miscavige never came to LA and did the same thing there. We kind of thought he might, but he didn't. We heard about and implemented some of what was being done at Clearwater when he was there, sort of trying to make things more efficient, make things hum better. They were doing time motion studies of how long did it take people to get from here to there and do this and do that and trying to make the place more efficient. But that never really seeped over to the West US a whole lot, or the rest of the major organizations in the world. So Miscavige kind of just hobby horses on whatever it is that he feels like hobby horsing. And when he's doing that, then he's the man, and he's the guy who's saying, calling all the shots. And then when he goes off and disappears and does whatever it is that he wants to do, whether it's take a vacation in Barbados or go off to Europe for a while or do whatever it is he does, I really couldn't speak to his day-to-day schedule or life, then we just wouldn't be hearing anything from him, Then sometimes we might get, the captains of some of the organizations at Big Blue might get a dispatch from him. That was a big deal. If you got some direction from Miscavige directly, whoa, you're all over that at the local level. So, and it was kind of unheard of. In all the years that I was in management, I think it happened a handful of times that David Miscavige sent a dispatch down to a city-level church, like San Francisco or Denver or something like that. Very rarely. And by dispatch, I mean an individual communication, like a letter. He would send issues down that would go to everybody in the world, and there were programs that he wrote that went down, and we were expected to get those done. But as far as individual attention, pretty rare. So I think the whole time that I was in the Sea Org, I met him 3 times, or was in the same room as him 3 times. There was only one time where I had a direct line with him. We were exchanging letters back and forth, and he was giving me direction on training for my job. And I was kind of querying him a little bit about what I wanted to do, and he was kind of coming back to me with various things. So that was the only time. And that, there were a lot of people paying attention to our dispatches, but that was the only time I ever had any, direct communication with him that was longer than a couple minutes. So that was kind of his style with that. So I hope that kind of explains the difference between how we would operate at a local level versus how they operate at an international level. This has been a pretty summary version of all of that. I hope I'm kind of communicating the picture here. But feel free to ask me any other questions about any of that.